My name is Dr. Ben Song.
I'm a time traveler.
Friends, Romans, countrymen, the Quantum Leap 2022 Revival Season 2 trailer has dropped, and that is also your one-a-day thought about the Roman Empire, so you're welcome about that. I do want to point out there will be some spoilers ahead. It's a trailer. I don't know why you would think there wouldn't be spoilers, but that is your warning. So before we get into it, I'm not going to play the audio or the trailer in its entirety, because I'm sure as shooting they're going to come after me if I do. Second of all, brief thoughts. I liked the original first season of this revival. Sure, it wasn't up to standards of the original as far as being this warm and heartfelt and as amazing. It wasn't necessarily the sci-fi classic of the original, but while it did have a few growing pains, overall I think it did a fairly good job of trying to capture the spirit it was going for. It had a compelling long-form storyline that kind of fumbled in the middle, and I put that down personally to the added episodes they kind of shoved in there, but overall it had an intriguing story and fairly interesting characters, and it seems to be kind of continuing the storyline of trying to search for Sam Beckett from the original series, so hopefully we'll get more on that in this season. Without further ado, let's take a little bit of a look at this trailer, and I will pause it every once in a while to discuss it. So this is not too much. It's showing a lot of the original stuff. As you can see here, and I'll pause it briefly in a moment. So she is a new character, or who appears to be a new character, that he's kind of telling his story to. He's spilling his guts about how he's a time traveler going from life to life to life, and she seems to be on board with it. She's not really flummoxed at all, and he's kind of a little bit unsure about that. But as far as the other things they're showing, all of these things they're showing here up until 1961 appear to be scenes from the original first season of this show. I will talk about it a little later, but that could mean one of two things. A, they're reusing footage, or B, potentially he's going to be leaping back into prior situations. We saw in the season 1 finale that he was kind of retroactively leaping backwards through the leaps he had already been within. So is that now potentially meaning the changes he enacted during the original timeline of his leaps were all undone and he has to go back through and rectify them? Or are they truly just reusing footage? It's probably most likely they're reusing footage, and that's the only reason they're doing it. But it does, of course, bring up some intriguing thoughts. Now, we see here that he is leaping into 1961 Egypt. He's outside the Sphinx, and we see here in a little narration from Addison, I have to imagine, that this time he is in the role of a spy. So that's kind of cool for him. That's going to be a fun experience. And based on that, we also see kind of a nice location shot. That's something that I feel the first season lacked a little bit of. There were some location shots, but a lot of them felt a little empty, and that could have been lingering things from the pandemic, not being able to shoot with real people. This looks a little bit fake, but it still definitely looks a bit more populated than some of the areas we saw in the first season. Is that guy wearing a Santa hat? I don't think so. I think it's just the pixelation on my screen. It's probably more like a headscarf or something. But anyways, I digress. So we see here what appears to be the outside of a leap. Honestly, this to me looks very, very similar to the effect of the wormhole from Sliders when they were opening from the other end. So I don't know if that's supposed to be intentional or not. Let's take a little bit of a look there. That was just the screen coming on to tell us he was in 1992, the day the LA riot started. I guess that's probably just an effect they're using to show the dates, and it's not an in-universe effect of his leaps. But it's just very intriguing to me that it looks basically like the wormhole from Sliders. And as you may or may not know, Sliders, I think in season 4, season 3, whenever Maggie Beckett joined the team, she was in essence a backdoor character connected to the Quantum Leap program. She was never stated on screen, supposed to be kind of a stand-in as Sam Beckett's daughter, potentially from an alternate universe. I know that's very fan fiction-y, but I do think that was at the time a little wink-wink, nudge-nudge connection of trying to connect the two universes. 100% not what they're trying to do here. I did want to reference that because I'm a nerd and nobody ever talks about that anymore. So he's going to the LA riots in the 90s. Then we see 1949 here, which I am very much intrigued about. Now, potentially, this is not going to actually be an alien abduction, alien landing story. We saw in the original Quantum Leap, there were a couple of situations where there seemed to be things like magic, angels, demons, aliens, that never was really confirmed in the show as aliens being real. However, in the questionably canonical comics and novel tie-ins after the show went off the air, it was 100% confirmed aliens were real as Sam leapt into an alien. Whether or not that's made canon in the show, it probably won't be, but it is intriguing if they are trying to reference that sort of thing here. Is it going to be a real alien or one of those things they do in sci-fi shows a lot where everything seems like an alien, but there's definitely a plausible thing, or it's a government cover-up, potentially an early Quantum Leap project gone awry or something like that. Who knows? But I'm definitely intrigued to see that sort of thing. Now, 2050, we see this future thing. That footage of Ben being in the future, to me, looked reused from when he was in the future in the season finale of season 1. Whether or not he revisits that time period, I personally kind of hope not, because I think potentially the whole point of this season is going to be him trying to set right that future and prevent the apocalypse from ever coming to the foreground. Ian in that future does still exist potentially, so maybe there'll be some sort of a cross-temporal connection of Ziggy and Ian in the future with the present and the past. I think all of these Ziggies are connected across time, and there's going to be potential, if not split timeline, a conversation or a connection across time that's going to be built up in this season. And I don't know, again, I'm speculating wildly about stuff that it's definitely not proven. We get another shot of a couple of our returning characters, as well as a couple of new characters. Not going to speculate too much on them because what is provided in this trailer doesn't give us a whole lot of information on them. But we also get to see Ben here in a very, Hester Prynne type of thing in 1692. It was shown in the first season of this revival that Ben is capable of traveling well beyond his lifetime simply because of the momentum being built up by the time jumps. That was kind of the whole point. So it does make sense that he is now capable of leaping further back than Sam was in the original, barring a couple of incidents. But to put it back this far, that seems even further into history than we've ever been led to believe could happen. 1692, that's way in the past, so I will definitely be interested to see how this plays out. And it looks like he's a woman. He's probably going to be presented as being a witch. This is probably going to be that sort of storyline which we've seen before, but possibly with a new twist on it. And it's also mentioned here that this is going to be the butterfly effect to end all butterfly effects. The changes being made on these leaps could potentially overwrite the timeline our characters are existing in and making the leaps, undo themselves or overwrite the ones he's already made, maybe even make Ben not exist if he changes something this far back that leads to him never being born. Who's to say? That could be the potential of the butterfly effects, or it could have something to do with Martinez, the other leapers. Whatever, there's a lot of possibilities there. Yeah, that looks about right. We see combination of the various different leaps that we've seen here. He gets to punch a Nazi here. Kind of intrigued to see how that plays out. It looks a bit like they might be doing is this like a medical office or something like that, or is it some sort of prison camp? I'm not entirely sure, but it looks like maybe a medical office. So is this some similar story that we saw in season 1? It's maybe a psychiatrist's office. They're doing some sort of experiments. Again, always nice to see punching a Nazi. They had to do it. Of course they did. Why not do it here? We get some more shots here. That's reused footage. That is reused footage, which leads me again to believe, is he going to have to retroactively correct the leaps he's already been through, or are they reusing footage? I think it's probably reusing footage, but I'm not against the fact that they will be revisiting leaps, not holding out much hope, but they may be revisiting some locations and leaps that Sam visited in the original if there's truly an unraveling of time. Again, I still think Sam is out there. I still think Scott Bakula will make a return at some point. He is the one behind it all who maneuvered Ben and his friends into this position to begin with. Again, that's a pipe dream and a wild fan theory, but if it's proven to be true, I do want to scream to the rafters that I think that is potentially what's happening. Then we get this nice little breakdown here. Wednesday, October 4th, Quantum Leap returns, and I am I'm definitely excited. Especially since in the midst of the strikes going on right now, there is not going to be a hell of a lot of new content out there for a while. And while Quantum Leap didn't set the world on fire when it came out last year, it was definitely a fairly solid, fun adventure sci-fi show that took some stumbles along the way. But I am definitely excited. The growing pains of season 1 will hopefully be ironed out. We'll potentially get a bigger bang for our buck. The characters now know who they are. The new characters could add new wrinkles to that, and if they can really structure the leaps and the modern day storyline and the overarching storylines a little bit better than they did in season 1, I think this could prove to be a very good show that will take us through into the new year. We can go into that new year with a good sci-fi show, because it's going to be a while until we get anything else. Those are my thoughts. There's not too much to glean from this trailer, although I'm just kind of watching it through right now, so if I come up with any thoughts later, maybe I'll have to make an addendum. But 2 weeks away. We are 2 weeks away from new Quantum Leap, and I didn't really realize October was just around the corner until I looked at my calendar. What did you think? Are you excited for this? Did you not watch season 1? Are you kind of just checked out on all this stuff? Leave all your thoughts down below. Like, share, subscribe to all of those YouTube things. And until next time,
Quantum Leap, October 4th on NBC and streaming on Peacock.